They came like gods descending. 12 galactic scouts, elite, armored, confident. Their drop pods screamed to the atmosphere in brilliant streaks of white flame, tearing the sky above the old Colorado ruins. Zone 7, Earth's last hunter zone, unfolded beneath them in a broken stretch of forest, mountains, and wrecked cities left to rot under centuries of ash. Warning beacons blinked dim orange beneath choking layers of moss, dust, and char. No satellites overhead. No ships. No living humans in 1,000 miles, or so they believed. Inside the command shuttle orbiting above, Scout Commander Carrick leaned back in his suspension chair, chewing on a ration stick. His exosuit hissed as it cooled from the pre-drop scan. Across from him, Vaughn and Teller laughed at an old Earth meme stitched into one of their helmets. I survived the hunter zones, and all I got was this PTSD. What a waste of a mission, Teller muttered, adjusting his shoulder rig. They send 12 of us for what? Ghost stories. Hunter zones, Vaughn said, mimicking an ancient human accent. Enter at dusk, don't expect dawn. Carrick smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. They bombed themselves back into the Stone Age, then told bedtime stories to explain the shadows. I've seen it before. Half of these warnings are just tribal garbage. They did nuke themselves pretty good. Myra chimed in, the youngest of the team. She didn't smile. But this zone wasn't mapped. Last reckoned drone went dark before it crossed the ridgeline. Malfunction, Carrick said dismissively. Or trees. Outside the window, Earth loomed, blue, scarred, defiant. The crew snapped helmets into place. 12 red icons flashed. Drops primed. Coordinates locked. Drop clean, the pilot announced. You're clear for sweep and bone. Let's dance, Vaughn grinned. They landed at dusk. Carrick felt it as soon as his boots hit soil. Soft, too soft. The ground flexed unnaturally beneath the moss. He swept a 360 visual. Twisted pines bent at odd angles. Tree trunks wrapped in what looked like sinew and bark. Strange. His HUD struggled to lock elevation. The mist, thick and red-tinted, crept unnaturally fast across the forest floor. Something about it made his eyes water inside the helm. "Come stable," he barked. "Affirmative," Vaughn replied. "Thermal scan shows low to zero activity. Maybe a few rodents." "Not for long," said Rel, powering up her kinetic rifle. "Let's ghost the zone and collect the bounty." They advanced into the woods, in formation. Drones zipped ahead, scanning tree density, mapping terrain. It was quiet, unnaturally so. No birds, no wind. The only sound was the low hum of their suits and the soft squelch of bootfuls on soaked ground. The first hour passed without incident. They spread out, logging structures, the remains of a farmhouse, a rusted transmission tower, an old Earth transport bus wrapped in vines. Nothing moved. No signals. No heat signatures. Just moss, rot, and silence. "This is a joke," Teller said. "Zone 7's empty. We should call evac now, before... Wait." He paused. A flicker. Movement. His visor pinged something along the tree line. Just a blur, gone before the system could confirm it. "What did you see?" Carrick asked, already turning toward him. "Could have been a deer," Teller said, frowning. "Low profile. Fast." Carrick narrowed his eyes. "Go verify. Keep visual. Stay sharp." Teller broke off the path and moved toward the trees, stepping over a fallen drone husk that hadn't been on their map. He vanished into the mist. 30 seconds. 60. Then static. Carrick tilted his head, listening. "Teller, report." Only the hiss of wind. Then a scream. It wasn't a normal scream. It was guttural, animalistic, wrenched from the very marrow of someone whose bones had betrayed him. And then, snap, the comm cut out. The team froze. "Someone get eyes on him." Carrick snapped. Vaughn's drone pinged rapid movement. Northwest, 20 meters. Then east. Then south. Erratic. Fast. Too fast. "It's circling us," he whispered. "What the hell's at speed?" A second scream exploded over the comms. Scout Kale this time. No one saw where he'd gone. Only a blurred silhouette moving inhumanly fast before his camera spun end over end and hit the date. Reform. Tight circle. Carrick shouted, axes drawn. Plasma blades hiss alive. Myra, drop beacon. Full alert. They grouped fast. 7 left now. The drones swirled erratically, their feeds glitching. Camera static, sudden blackouts, audio popping. One by one, the drones dropped from the sky as if struck by invisible claws. The mist thickened. Thermal readings showed shapes, dozens, moving just outside of visual range. Tall, slender, fluid, as if made of muscle and smoke. Scout Horn fired. His plasma bolt lit up the trees and struck nothing. Then came the whispers, not overcomes, not in their heads, from the trees. You burn forests, but the roots remember. You mocked us, now you feed us. Sound distortion. Myra stammered, eyes wide. Psych-tech warfare? They have voice mimics. No, Carrick said flatly. That was Galactic Basic. But wrong. Broken. Scout Rel turned. Commander, there's someone behind. A blay. A scream. Her helmet flew past Carrick's head and slammed into a tree, leaving a streak of blood and circuitry. Fall back to drop zone. Go, he ordered, dragging Myra by the arm. They ran. Trees shifted as they moved. The paws twisted. Ground felt like breathing flesh. Myra stumbled over something and fell. Her hand landed on a face. Scout Teller's face. Detached. Expression frozen in terror. Eyes missing. She screamed and kicked away from it, scrambling to her feet. Behind them, the forest groaned. The mist rose. They burst into the original clearing, only it wasn't. The drop pods were gone. Not destroyed. Gone. No scorch marks. No gear. No sign of arrival. Myra collapsed to her knees. We're not in Zone 7 anymore. Carrick spun in place, axes out, panting. His HUD now displayed constant interference. His heartbeat surged. A shape stepped from the mist. Tall, human-shaped, but too long. Wrapped in bone, cloth, and strips of old Federation armor twisted into a grotesque shell. The creature's head was wrapped in a cracked scout helmet, turned backwards, grinning. Its eyes, if they were eyes, glowed a soft, hungry red. Target! Carrick shouted. But before he could move, more of them stepped out. Dozens, maybe more. One held a vibroblade made from scout armor plating, fused with bone and filament. Another carried a spinal column like a whip. All of them wore pieces of previous scout gear, grafted, sewn, melted into flesh. One tilted its head, then, mockingly, spoke. Zone secure, no threats remain. Then they charged. Red mist settled like blood fog, staining everything in a dainty, dreamless hue. Carrick's breath rasped inside his helm, echoing hollow against the reinforced visor. Somewhere behind him, Myra staggered, cursing, bleeding from the cheek where something, he still didn't know what, had grazed her. She clutched her rifle like it was an anchor, not a weapon. 5. Only 5 of them remained now. Vaughn, already half insane, was muttering equations under his breath. Tapping his visor like numbers could make the forest make sense. Scout Horn had lost most of his left arm, a cauterized stump swinging loose in his sling. Rook barely spoke, just watched the trees like they were watching back. Carrick had never known fear like this. He'd fought highborn on asteroid swarms. He'd led orbital drop assaults against flesh-eaters in the Zelna pits. He'd nuked worlds that didn't even make the charts. But nothing moved like the things in this forest. They didn't march. They didn't attack in formation. They flowed, like a nervous system stretched across the canopy, like predators that had learned how to enjoy the chase. And now, they were playing with them. We're being herded, Myra said suddenly, voice tight, cutting through the hush like a knife. They're not trying to kill us. Not yet. They're guiding us. To what? Vaughn snapped, his voice an octave too high. Their nest? Their kitchen? Maybe they're deciding what sauce to use. Shut it, Carrick growled. They moved forward, no longer sure of their direction, only that the mist kept thickening, and the trees felt closer than they had 10 minutes ago. The terrain dipped, a natural ravine, steep and slick with moss. Branches arched overhead in a jagged, clawed canopy, filtering in just enough light to see what lay at the bottom. Carrick stopped. His heart hammered. They had reached a clearing, a false one, hollowed like a stage set for something primal. Towering at the center was a tree unlike the others. Its bark was jet black, so dark it absorbed the surrounding red hue, wrapped in thorn vines that pulsed gently, like a slow heartbeat. From its branches hung hundreds, no, thousands, of objects, shapes, tags, armor fragments, shards of scout helmets, drones, skulls, human skulls, and others, older, mutated, elongated, some with cybernetic implants still flickering dimly. One still bore a Federation shoulder plate, cracked but unmistakable. Myra whispered, almost reverently, "The blood tree." Carrick felt his stomach lurch. Scout Rook moved forward, slowly, mesmerized. "There's a body." He wasn't wrong. At the base of the tree, impaled on a branch like a grotesque trophy, was a scout, face frozen in agony, mouth stuffed with mud and moss. His hands had been removed and replaced with knives made of fused teeth. Carrick stepped toward him, then froze. The scout's eyes moved. They watched him. Alive. Barely. Carrick lifted his axe, hesitating. "Do I?" "Commander," Myra said, backing away. "We're not alone." Movement at the edge of the ravine. Figures. Dozens. Thin. Tall. Flesh painted with ash and mud. They wore patchwork armor stitched from scavenged pieces. Bones, bark, metal, teeth. Some had no lips, their mouths stretched in permanent grins, faces carved with ritual marks. Others wore helmets, Federation issued, dented and welded to their skulls. Each held a weapon unlike any scout had ever seen. Blades made from shoulder bones, spears forged from shattered plasma rifles and reinforced with sinew. They didn't advance. They circled, watching. One stepped forward. A leader, perhaps, taller than the rest. His skin was gray-pale, arms marked with deep black runes. He wore a chest plate built from 2 scout torsos, fused together with moss and red wire. His eyes gleamed silver. He opened his mouth and spoke, not in their language, but a twisted form of Galactic Basic. The words came slow, gurgled, like they were being dragged from a long-buried place. "Leave, not allowed. Bleed, or be chosen." Vaughn raised his rifle. Carrick grabbed his wrist. "No," he hissed. "Look at them. They want us to fire. They are flesh. Monsters. We're outnumbered 15-1. Our tech's compromised, and they baited us here." Carrick looked at the leader again. "They want something else." The thorn-skinned leader stepped closer, and the others parted silently. From beneath his chest plate, he pulled out a tangle of cords, scout beacons, 12 of them, all blinking red, all tagged with the current squad's IDs. Teller, Rel, Kale, even Carrick's own backup tag, supposedly sealed inside his secondary uniform locker aboard the shuttle. He held them out, then crushed them in one hand. Red lights died. The forest exhaled. Suddenly, Carrick's HUD blinked. Signal interruption resolved. For a moment, they had connection. A brief flicker of the Federation network flashed across their visors. Carrick knew it was a trap, and he called for help anyway. He pressed the emergency beacon on his wrist. "Sickle 22, this is Scout Commander Carrick, requesting immediate extraction. Code Black. Zone 7 compromised. Repeat, Zone 7 compromised. We're not dealing with survivors. We're dealing with something engineered." The message cut halfway. A low hum answered from the blood tree. It began to sing, not with voice, but through resonance. The air trembled. The branches vibrated. Bones hanging from ropes of sinew clattered in rhythm. It felt like language. A summoning. The thorn-skins began to move, not toward them, but away, disappearing into the mist like ghosts answering a call. Only the leader remained. He looked at Myra, pointed, then turned, stepped into the tree, and vanished into its bark-like smoke. Carrick stood there, fists trembling. The message had gone out, but he didn't know who heard it. Vaughn collapsed to his knees. "They let us live. Why?" "They are not done," Myra said flatly. This was an invitation. "To what?" She didn't answer. She was staring at the bark where the leader had vanished. One hand was slowly reaching out, almost unconsciously, toward the tree. Her fingers hovered over a knot in the bark, a handprint, perfectly sized to hers. She didn't press it. Not yet, but Carrick saw her expression, and he didn't like what it meant. Night no longer felt like absence of light. It felt like intent. Something deliberate. A curtain drawn across the world not to hide it, but to reveal what lived behind the veil. Carricks didn't sleep. None of them did. They made a perimeter beneath a collapsed overpass twisted with ancient vines. The ravine and the blood tree lay behind them now, but they all still felt its rhythm in their skulls. The low hum echoed faintly in the stone, like a memory that wouldn't release its teeth. 4 scouts remained: Carrick's, Myra, Vaughn, and Harn. Rook had vanished, gone during second watch, without sound or struggle. One moment present, the next simply removed, as if the forest had peeled him out of the air. Harn sat with his back against a half-crushed supply crate, eyes hollow, stump bandaged with reactive gel that barely stopped the bleeding. "We should have burned it," he mumbled for the 3rd time. "That tree. Should have torched it while we had plasma cells." "We never had plasma cells," Carrick growled, scanning the darkness with his axe in hand. "They failed 2 hours after drop. You know that." "Convenient," Harn muttered, slurring a little. Carrick didn't answer. He was watching Myra. She stood apart from them now, helmet off, staring into the woods like she could read between the trees. Her eyes had changed, sharper, more focused, but not afraid. That was what worried him most. "We need to move at first light," Carrick finally said, breaking the long silence. "Push north. If there's a true evac window, it's past the ridge." "There is no light," Myra said without turning. "Not here. Not anymore. This place doesn't follow orbital physics." Vaughn laughed, a ragged sound. "She's right. Our HUDs keep reporting sunrise, but it's always night. What kind of place decides not to let dawn happen?" Carrick stepped toward her. "You need to rest. We all do." She glanced at him, expression unreadable. "I think I know what they are," she said softly. "The thorn skins, the tree, the zone." He hesitated. "Explain." "Not monsters. Not exactly. Not invaders, either. They're reactive, a response to something. Maybe us. Maybe worse." Vaughn shook his head. "You sound like the religious primitives from the pre-fall sectors." "No," she said. "They used to be human." Everyone stopped. Even the wind seemed to pause. "You saw it," she continued, her voice calm, almost too calm. "Those weren't masks. That was Federation armor, melded into bone. And not just one generation of it. Scout tech from 5-10 eras ago. They've been here longer than any records admit. The hunter zones weren't evacuation zones. They were quarantine sites." Carrick felt a cold spike in his gut. "You're saying Command knew. Or someone did. And they made sure we'd never find out. Until now." Vaughn rose to his feet, shaking. "No. No way. You're cracked. You touched that thing. Maybe you breathed something. You're not thinking right." She looked at him, sadly. "I'm thinking clearer than I ever have." Carrick stepped between them. "Enough. Doesn't matter what they are. We're getting out. Vaughn, check the drones. Harn, seal your wound. Myra, rest." "No," she said. "You need to see something first." Before Carrick could stop her, she walked to the edge of the trees and pressed her palm against the bark of an old, gnarled oak. Nothing happened. Then the ground shifted. A low groan rolled through the forest floor, followed by a soft click, like bones falling into place. The tree split, gently, almost lovingly, revealing a narrow, spiraling stairway carved into its core. Faint blue light shimmered along the walls, not electric, but bioluminescent, fluid, alive. "What did you do?" Carrick whispered. "I didn't do anything," Myra said. "It let me in." Without waiting, she stepped inside. Vaughn raised his weapon. "We shoot her now, or after she turns." Carrick hesitated. "She's still Myra." "Is she?" Vaughn hissed, because right now she's walking into a sentient tree tunnel built by ex-human tribal death cultists who wear our friends' faces. She's our only lead. I'm not going down there. You'll die up here, Carrick snapped. That tree wants us separated. We go together. Horn, barely able to walk, groaned. If she's right, maybe the exit's in the roots. Carrick helped him up. They followed. The tree swallowed them. The stairs spiraled downward through shifting textures of bark and bone, alive with slow pulses of green and red light. Walls glistened with some kind of fluid, neither sap nor blood, but something in between. Every footstep echoed like a question being asked. The air grew thick with memory. Old sounds, whispers, screams so distant they felt ancient. Then they reached the chamber. It opened like a heart, pulsing around them. Dozens of Thornskins stood in silent rows around the circular chamber's edge. None moved, none attacked. At the center stood the Thornskin leader. He no longer wore Carrick's beacon chain. He wore Myra's helmet. She stood beside him, calm. Carrick raised his weapon. Step away from her. Myra held up a hand. Wait! The Thornskin leader turned toward Carrick and spoke. Perfect galactic basic. You were not meant to survive the tree. Yet you did. Carrick leveled his axe. Let her go. She came willingly. She listened. Unlike your kind, who only conquer and erase. What are you? Memory, ruin, reclamation. The voice rang like stone cracking. You named this world Earth. Then you shattered it. Then you forgot it. But we remained. We remembered. You called us hunter zones. We are not predators. We are punishment. Horn groaned behind Carrick's. Vaughn was trembling. Your Federation discarded those it deemed impure, genetically unstable, psychologically damaged. Entire battalions of failed soldiers, rebels, mutants. They were left here, in these forests, with your weapons, your poisons, your technology. The Thornskin stepped forward. They did not die. They adapted, and they waited, because they remembered. Carrick's voice was tight. So what now? You kill us and carve more armor from our corpses. No. The Thornskin leader looked at Myra. We let her choose. Myra looked at Carrick's, and for a long time she said nothing. Then, pull your helmet off, she said softly. What? Do it. Why? Because this place isn't about fighting. It's about remembering, and it wants you to see. With real eyes, not through Federation glass. Carrick hesitated, then did. The helmet hissed off, and the chamber shifted. He saw them now, not as monsters, but as fragments, people, twisted by time and pain. Some still bore the names of battalions on their skin. Others had implants malfunctioning for centuries. One still clutched a Federation doll. Another wept silently, tears made of oil. They weren't Thornskins. They were forgotten soldiers. Lost, abandoned, reborn. Myra spoke one final time. Now you understand. Carrick closed his eyes, and the forest roared. The roar wasn't sound. It was revelation. It cracked the skin of the world, ripped apart the illusion of a simple recognition gone wrong, and forced Carrick to see the truth underneath the leaves, the dirt, the silence. It wasn't wind that shook the roots beneath his boots. It was a weight of unspoken history, rising like a tide. Everything that had been buried was no longer content to stay buried. The Thornskin chamber shifted, walls of bark flexing, revealing deeper corridors, flickering with crimson pulses that weren't just light. They were signals, a system waking up, a warning passed from root to branch to vine, carried in the sap of the planet's oldest lie. Vaughn snapped first. No, this is wrong. This is brainwashing. We're being manipulated. This isn't us. He raised his rifle at Myra. Step away from him. You're not her anymore. You're just a vessel. Carrick moved to block him. Lower it. She's gone. Commander. Look at her. Myra's eyes had changed. But it wasn't emptiness he saw. It was clarity. Like someone who had finally learned what question they'd spent their entire life unknowingly asking. I'm still me, she said. You just never wanted to know what I could be without the uniform. Vaughn didn't lower the rifle. Last warning, Carrick said, quietly. Something behind them stayed. Horn's breathing had stopped. Carrick's turned. Too late. Horn slumped forward, mouth slack, eyes glazed with red mist. Veins had darkened under his skin. He didn't fall. He was held up by something inside him. His spine convulsed. His body stretched. A vine had pierced the base of his skull, and now it wore him like a coat. He rose, slow, unnatural. Eyes flickered like dim stars, mouth twitching with unfamiliar rhythms. Vaughn fired, screaming. Horn's body jerked. Holes punched into his torso, but it didn't stop. It surged forward, impossibly fast, vine-wrapped hand grabbing Vaughn's weapon and crushing it like brittle plastic. The impact threw Vaughn against the chamber wall, gasping. Myra stepped forward, calm, and pressed a hand to Horn's forehead. The vines receded. The body collapsed. Only silence remained. Carrick stared at her. How? He was too far gone. They tried to show him. He refused. The forest doesn't kill. It absorbs. When the mind breaks, the body becomes a tool. Vaughn coughed, blood on his lip. You're talking like them. I am them, Myra said gently. So are you. Carrick stepped between them. Enough. We're done with riddles. He turned to the Thornskin leader. You said she chooses, that this place remembers. Then show me why. I don't care about stories. I want truth. The leader nodded. Then come. It is time to walk beneath the wound. They followed. The chamber narrowed into a tunnel of flesh and wood. Strange light swam beneath its skin, memories trapped like fossils. Brief flashes, a soldier screaming into a broken comm, a mother cradling a baby beneath a shattered transport wing, a Federation officer signing evacuation orders with shaking hand. And deeper still, roots, thick, glowing with data. Fiber optic strands of a living network that stretched across a continent. More than a forest. A system. A prison. The tunnel opened again, into a vast, circular basin beneath the soil. At its center stood a monument of bone and metal, fused into a twisted spire. Scout dropships crashed and split open, melted into ribcage shapes, armor woven into the structure like scales, limbs of mechs protruding like broken towers. The root signal tower, Myra said softly. The origin of the distortion. Carrick stared. It's alive. It was made so, the Thornskin leader said. When the Federation lost control of Zone 7, they built this from fallen units. They meant to signal for orbital cleansing. But we intercepted. We changed it. It became our spine, our memory, our voice. Vaughn staggered to his feet. This is what you meant. You're not hunting us. You're broadcasting. You want us to see this. Yes. Why? Carrick asked. Because someone must carry the memory back. And they will not believe us. But they might believe you. Carrick looked at Myra. This is why you brought us down here. No, she said. This is why the zone brought us down here. The Thornskin leader stepped forward. From beneath his rib-wrapped armor, he drew a small device, circular, blinking. A recorder. Carrick's own. He had lost it during their first skirmish. Now it was full. It holds everything. Audio, visual, telemetry, names, faces. They cannot erase it. Not if you live. And you want me to take it back. You will not escape. Not truly. But your signal might. Carrick stared at the device. Then at Myra. You're not coming, are you? She shook her head. This place is part of me now. It showed me what I always suspected. That I wasn't made to follow orders. I was made to remember. To protect them. Carrick nodded, slowly. Then give me the way out. Myra reached behind her, plunged a hand into a vine-wrapped socket, and the ground shook. A small section of the basin wall peeled back. A corridor of light. It leads to the old evac tunnel. 1 mile. If you run, they won't catch you. Not tonight. Not if they want you to carry it. Vaughn staggered toward it. We're leaving. Now. Carrick didn't move. He looked one last time at Myra. What do I tell them? He asked. She smiled, tired but free. Tell them the forest remembers. And it's angry. Carrick's turned, took the recorder, and ran. Vaughn followed, limping, panting, whispering half-mad prayers. Behind them, the thorn-skin chant began again, low and deep, a sound of roots cracking stone and blood dripping into ancient soil. The tunnel narrowed. Carrick's legs burned. His breath came in ragged bursts. But he didn't stop, not until they saw the light. A crater, open sky, artificial beams mounted on collapsed structures, old evac markers, now blinking with faint power. Above, stars. Carrick fell to his knees. Vaughn raised the emergency flare. The sky blinked red. A signal. Somewhere, someone would see it. But they wouldn't understand it. Not until it was far too late, because the screams came at dusk. And dusk never ended. Dawn broke for the first time in 6 days. At least, that's what the Federation rescue skiff sensors reported. Sunrise, 6:12 local. But when Carrick looked at the sky through cracked, blood-stained eyes, there was no light. Just that same low, oppressive ash hue, like a bruise stretched across the horizon. Still, they came. Federation signal interceptors, descending on reverse burn vectors, sleek, silver, gleaming. Everything the forest wasn't. They moved like they belonged in the sky. Like this world was a footnote. A place meant to be visited, not remembered. Carrick's collapsed as the evac team swarmed. Masked medics. Shielded soldiers. One drone captured his biometric scan. Another lifted the data beacon from his trembling fingers. Vaughn had already been sealed in a stasis tube. He hadn't spoken since the tree. Not a word. Just silence. Mouth open, eyes flicking back and forth as if trapped in a conversation no one else could hear. Carrick barely managed to croak 2 words. Don't trust. Then darkness. When he woke, everything smelled too clean. Federation Medical Station Theta 9. Orbit. Artificial gravity. The hum of sterile systems. Blank walls. Blank uniforms. The color of sanitized guilt. He was alone. No Myra. No Vaughn. Just the humming. And the questions. They came in pays, officers wearing silver pins. Not ranks. They never used names. Just called him Survivor Unit Car 17A. He told them everything, the way they wanted. The drop, the malfunction, the attacks, the tree, the voices, the signal. He gave them the recording. He made them watch it. He forced them to see. And then it disappeared. Not a trace left. The officers said the beacon was damaged, audio corrupted, visuals degraded, a technical failure, common in high radiation zones. They smiled politely. They asked about his perception, his mental well-being. They assigned him a counselor. Her name was Tessa. She was kind, too kind. She asked questions he never answered. Instead, he drew. He didn't know why. At first, it was fragments. The outline of the tree, the twisted spire, the faces, not monstrous, but human, lost in trying to become something more. Something remembered. Then he drew Myra. Every day, every hour. He didn't sleep, because when he did, he heard the roots again. Whispers. Run. Warn. Remember. Weeks passed. Then months. Then they released him. Just like that. No debrief. No ceremony. Just a shuttle ticket to Outer Colony Sector 9, and a warning not to engage in further inflammatory communications regarding unverified field encounters. He didn't go. He disappeared instead, dropped off the grid, went dark, and that should have been the end of it. But the zone wasn't done. Not with him. Not with any of them. Carrick spent 3 years drifting across independent systems, pirate-run outposts, ex-military zones, old Civil War planets still burning under fractured suns. Every place he went, he looked for the same thing, proof, and eventually he found it, not in a Federation archive, not in some rebel conspiracy data slab, but in a scream. It came from a backwater moon in the Tarrant Spiral, mining station. Small, no more than 60 workers. Contact lost for 13 hours. By the time the mercenary crew got there, they found every door sealed, every light off. Carrick was one of them now. He didn't carry a Federation axe anymore, just a salvage blade and something meaner behind his eyes. The station had no survivors, just a single wall carved in vines. They didn't grow there, not naturally, and the carving, it was a face. His, no mistaking it. Below it, in a hand too precise to be madness, someone had written in old earth glyphs, "The forest remembers." And so do we. That was when Carrick stopped running. He started tracking. He hunted every rumor of anomalous zones, every whisper of hunter sites on fringe worlds, every lost squad, every botched evac, and he found patterns. Zones weren't spreading. They were awakening, like buried nerve clusters reactivated. Each one left a mark. Not a crater, a message, not an attack, a correction. One day, he found Vaughn again. Oh, what was left of him. He was seated in a ruined temple on Lysos 8, blind, thin, veins full of slow-moving amber fluid. He smiled when Carrick arrived. Smiled like he'd been waiting. "Thought it'd be you," he whispered. Carrick knelt beside him. "They came to me," Vaughn rasped, "in a dream, but it wasn't sleep. It was beneath time. They showed me the first one. The Root War. We didn't win. Carrick's. We forgot. And forgetting isn't victory. It's debt." "Why me?" Carrick asked. "Because you listened. That's all they ever wanted." Vaughn died 2 hours later. No heartbeat, no neural activity. But his body didn't rot. It grew thorns. And every vine formed the word. Signal. Carrick sent a message. Encrypted. Buried deep inside a forgotten Federation relay in the Deimos cloud. It spread like fungus. Quiet. Undetected. The message was simple. They are not monsters. They are not ghosts. They are us, reborn through memory and pain. Do not mock the forests of earth. Do not enter the hunter zones. Because they do not hunt. They wait. For the scream. And for Dusk. The transmission wasn't blocked. It wasn't intercepted. Because it was received. Across half the galaxy, every tree and every artificial biodome in Federation territory turned. At the same time. No route protocols. No wind. No gravity shift. They turned. Toward the nearest camera. Toward us. As if listening. As if remembering. And in the outer fringe, beneath old Earth's broken sky, a scream rang out from the deepest part of the zone. Not a scream of terror, but a call. And the Dusk answered. Not with silence, with footsteps. One by one, the forgotten soldiers walked again. And this time, they weren't waiting to be found. They were coming to remind us that the forest doesn't forgive. It remembers, and it grows,